January 14th, 2022. At the time, the Brooklyn Nets' big three of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden was still a thing. The defending champions of the league were the Milwaukee Bucks at the time, and 3 teams have been crowned champions since then. That was the last time Lonzo Ball stepped on the court to play an NBA basketball game, a game that seemed insignificant at the time, going up against the Golden State Warriors, a game in which the Bulls got clobbered in the second half. After Zach Lavine went down with an injury to start the game, Lonzo Ball would play 23 minutes, put up 15 points, 3 assists, and had 5 turnovers in a game where he went minus 22 when on the court. A poor outing for Lonzo, but we didn't know at that time that Lonzo was suffering from a bone bruise in his knee, and little did we know that that would be the last time we would see him on the court for 2.5 years. Lonzo would miss the following few games as a precaution until it was revealed that he would in fact be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Almost a joke at the time to Bulls fans, as that was the go-to timeline for a return for all Bulls players who had been experiencing injuries, like that of Alex Caruso, who fractured his wrist after being swiped in the air by Grayson Allen. But Alex Caruso would in fact return at the end of that timeline. Even Patrick Williams, who was initially ruled out for the whole season after just playing 5 games, would eventually return and be ready to go for the playoffs. But Lonzo's timeline continued to get pushed out further and further until it was finally announced that he would not return that season, including for the playoffs. Lonzo would start fresh with the whole offseason of rest and rehab to be ready to go by training camp for the 22-23 season, until he wasn't ready to go. And when it was clear that the return for Lonzo was looking more and more in doubt as the season went on, the 22-23 season that is, people started wondering, what's going on with Zoe? And can we conceivably expect him to be back at some point this season? Well, Lonzo would not only not return that season, it would later be announced that he would have a knee cartilage transplant, also known as a meniscus transplant, to fix the lingering issues in his knee that were preventing him from returning to the game. A procedure that would not only keep him out for the entirety of that season, but the entirety of the following season. But a procedure in which a professional athlete has historically never returned from. At that time, I remember saying to myself, he's done. His career is over. We will never see Lonzo Ball play again. But while the odds were stacked against him, setback after setback, multiple surgeries, multiple months of rehab, and retraining his knee and body to get back into the shape for a return, Lonzo Ball has defied medical science and will be making his return to the game that he loves. A near impossible feat and an incredible story of determination and perseverance. And while he likely will never be the same player again, and his career might be cut short overall, for now, Lonzo Ball is back. Words I never thought I would hear myself say. So let's talk about it. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Real quick, actually, it's been a minute, but a huge shout out to our partners over at Underdog Fantasy who are sponsoring this video. With the NBA season set to kick off, it is the perfect time to get back into the action. For those that are new to Underdog Fantasy, let me tell you about the app and my personal favorite that I use on the app, NBA Pick'ems. With Pick'ems, you can pick higher or lower on most player stats and win money based on the ones you get right. You pick higher or lower, and you can win up to 100 times your money in a single night if you do 5 pick'ems and you get them all right. Underdog Fantasy is a super easy, user-friendly platform, and if you use the code BULLCENTRAL, they'll be giving you up to $250 in bonus cash, as well as a free pick'em in the lobby when you sign up. It's free money. You might as well take it. So check it out. I'll leave a link to the site and the code in the description. Now, of course, everyone remembers the good times the Bulls were having under Lonzo Ball. The Bulls were sitting number 1 in the East. They were winning games with their grit and grind on the defensive end, and thanks in large part with the guard pairing of Lonzo and Caruso, but also doing so with their pace and play in transition on offense. No one, not even some of the most optimistic Bulls fans, expected the Bulls to be that good after being a lottery team for so many seasons. The Bulls were relevant again. The guys were out there having fun, smiling, playing with energy and excitement. Vibes were at an all-time high since the D-Rose days, and the Bulls appeared to be poised for a deep playoff run until it all came crashing down with Lonzo being removed from the lineup. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of other factors at play as well that led to the Bulls' collapse towards the end of the 21-22 season, namely injuries to other players, guys getting gassed by the end of the year, teams starting to figure out the Bulls and their style of play as well. But the biggest factor that led to their downfall was losing their starting point guard, their playmaker, their floor general, their glue guy, and that engine that made everything run smoothly. The Bulls, simply put, were not equipped to handle life without Lonzo, and their offense suffered greatly as a result of it. Zach and DeMar were no longer able to fit well together, with each of them being the primary ball handlers and resorting to the my turn, your turn style of offense. And look, the Bulls should have seen this coming. meaning the front office, knowing that this was a big issue just based on how badly they fell from the #1 seed to 6th in the East in just a matter of 2 months. And they should have reacted more quickly in fixing the problem before it got worse. But of course, we all know what happened. The front office would continue to double down on this crew, clinging to the idea of continuity and that Lonzo would eventually return to get them back to where they once were, making small, insignificant moves on the margins to try and stay competitive and attempt to win now. All of it would obviously prove to be futile, as the Bulls would never reach the playoffs in the ensuing seasons without Lonzo. And now, here we are, 2.5 years later, and somewhat of a new look roster with a new focus on their youth and player development, and Lonzo is finally going to be returning to the court. A little too late in the Bulls' aspirations of wanting to contend, and Lonzo likely doesn't fit the Bulls' timeline and current direction anymore, but look, all of that really doesn't matter at this point, because this season we all know the Bulls aren't going to be competing for anything. And there shouldn't be an expectation that Lonzo is somehow going to come back, be the player he used to be, and get the Bulls back to the top of the Eastern Conference like they were before all of his injuries. This is all about Lonzo making a return regardless of where things go from here. Making a return when most thought he would never play again, including myself. While Lonzo likely won't be with the Bulls beyond this season, given his contract will be expiring, I'll be cheering him on the whole way throughout the year and wherever his career takes him after this. And I mentioned this before, for any of you attending the game at the United Center tonight in Lonzo's much-awaited return, I want to hear you screaming at the top of your lungs and giving this guy an ovation whenever he makes his way to the scores table to come into the game. As always, guys, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.